Hey guys, what's up? This is kind of like an old school Unrested setup here, and I'm kind of making an impromptu video, hence I only have the little collar mic on and not an actual microphone. So, why the sudden impromptu video out of nowhere? Well, kind of because I just got off the phone with a friend, and we're dealing with sort of a situation with a mutual friend where we're kind of puzzled as to what to do, and I always feel like in these kind of situations, where you need to take a step outside of yourself and really look in. It's always good to observe via a cathartic experience of analyzing it via YouTube, and even viewer feedback helps a lot too, because some of you guys can easily take a step outside of my situations and say, hey Scott, have you ever thought about looking at it like this? And I think it's important you do that. You don't just try to judge it from your own perspective. You try many different perspectives. And my friend and I have done our best to figure out what to do with this, and we are both kind of left puzzled because I guess we've never really dealt with this kind of thing happening with a mutual friend before. So this mutual friend was someone who used to make videos on YouTube, doesn't anymore. So this is no kind of YouTube drama. This is actually more of a kind of a cry for help for the friend, really. He quit the whole scene for kind of reasons I didn't fully understand, although he sent a video saying that he was quitting. But before he did that, he was part of my Unrest team, and was friends with some of the people in there, and then kind of had a falling out with one of the members. And that's where I already started to see some kind of stuff go on where I was kind of confused, like, why is he acting this way? He had said that he had sent some, I guess, oils and stuff and aromatherapy stuff to this friend, and that he had asked him to sell it in his country, set up shop and sell it in his country. And as the friend was, happy that he had sent him the stuff, he had never really, and he had said, I'll help you sell stuff. He had never like committed to any kind of, how do I say, like any kind of financial plan or any kind of amount that he would sell. Pretty much this friend, who is the mutual friend of my friend Michael Gillian Peckett, who is another J-vlogger, good guy, actually has a great book out there called Chrysanthemum and the Stick, or The Stick and Chrysanthemum, one of those. I've either flipped it or reversed it in some way, but it's one of those. The Stick and the Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum's hard to say, so I can flub that one. Or the Chrysanthemum and the Stick. It's one of those. So if I get it wrong, just flip the title and then put in Michael Gillian Peckett, and you'll find out who this guy is. Good guy. And this is the other friend I'm talking to right now about this mutual friend. And we are discussing some kind of the past history as we're trying to analyze this. And we're talking about that situation with the Unrest team where he had told another member on my team that, hey, I'll send you all this perfume and oils and stuff, because it's kind of the thing he used to deal in, and you can sell it in your country and help me make money. And my friend was like, yeah, I'll try to do my best. I'll try my best to sell it. And then he was like, all right, now send me all the money for all that stuff that I sent you. And my friend was like, wait, what? Like, I'll help you try to sell it, and if like it makes profit, that's cool, but like I didn't commit to any kind of like financial plan of an amount that I'm going to sell. If you want to send that stuff to me and have me try and sell it, and then I'll give you 100% profit from it. But I don't, like, if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. And it really didn't. It didn't, have any kind of sales there. And it's mostly because it's hard to market from afar. And then he kind of had a falling out with the Unrest team because of that. And it wasn't anything to do with any of the other members, really. It was just kind of like after that, things got kind of uncomfortable. And then after that, it got even kind of stranger. He sent like a video to me and another friend. I didn't get to see what the video was he sent to the other friend because it was private, but my friend told me that it was pretty much the same thing he had sent me, and it was a video like where he said he was leaving the J-vlog community, and that's already happened. It happened a long time ago, actually. He left because he said that the J-vlog community was, how did he put it? It was too obsessed with ego, which is fine. Yeah, I guess I could see that with some of us, even myself. I think if you have a YouTube channel, you have a bit of an ego. And too obsessed with technology, which I was kind of confused by that one. That we use too much technology with our new videos, which I don't know if that means like better sound or better video, but I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't continue to evolve with technology rather than like double back on, I don't know, de-evolving in technology instead of like, using like the newest HD cameras and stuff. Maybe try and go back to like a VHS recorder. I don't know what he had in mind. Like I was a little bit confused by that statement, but maybe it just wasn't something I fully understood the concept of. Maybe there was more to that I wasn't getting. But anyway, that was his reasons for leaving the JVlog community. And then he deleted me from Facebook. Like didn't talk to me anymore. Didn't send any more videos to me or make any more videos, which is fine. Like if anybody's bad about messaging people, it's me. If anybody's bad about answering phone calls, it's me. Like I'm flaky as hell, so I have no place to tell anybody who they should or shouldn't be keeping up with as far as messages and friends. So that's not really something that bothers me too much. I'm kind of really casual with all my friendships and really bad about updating everything. Even my YouTube these days, I'm bad about updating that. It's just because life comes first when it, and my family's life, it makes me busy as hell. So I just figured that was kind of the same situation for him. In the past, we had a couple good times. We had hung out in Tokyo at the Tokyo Meetup, 2013 Tokyo Meetup, I think it was, and the 2013 or 2014 Kobe Meetup. We hung out there. And before that, we had, kind of formed our friendship via YouTube, which that's the reason I have a couple of my YouTube friendships is because of YouTube, not vice versa, being friends and then both starting YouTube channels. I think almost all of them are because of YouTube and then friends. And we shared some other common interests too, like mythology. We were big into Greek mythology, Norse mythology. He knew a lot about Asian mythology. And so we discussed that kind of stuff. And so there was, of course, you always have to have some sort of crossroads that you're meeting at when you have any sort of friendship, some kind of common interest that links you. Nonetheless, though, like I said, we did kind of just kind of fall away as far as a friendship went. Not a falling out, not like any kind of fight or anything like that. I never fought with this guy before. And then I knew he was kind of like bad off financially because his shop was failing. The one that sold like oils and perfumes and stuff like that. It wasn't doing very well business wise. I know like his dad had a shop too, and that wasn't doing so good business wise. So I figured, honestly, my opinion was that the reason he had left the JVlog community and left doing videos and left doing like Facebook and stuff like that was because he really wanted to focus on his shop. And I was like, you know what, I can totally understand that. Getting money and earning money and being able to eat and pay your rent is way more important than any of the silly stuff we do online, right? Let's be honest. So, total respect for that. I totally understood. I figured that's probably why he fell away as far as communication went. And then it was about, I think, somewhere around the start of this year, or maybe a little bit before that, and maybe even around before Christmas. I'm off a little bit on the time. I heard from a friend of a friend that his father had died, and I knew he was up there in years, but I was kind of surprised to hear he had died. And so, I felt really bad. I was trying to figure like what should I do to contact him. Should I try to find him on Facebook again? Should I try to like find his phone number from a friend? Should I try to message him on something like, just like go through your old email, see if you can find an old contact via email or something like that. And then out of the blue, he contacted me on Facebook, and that's when I took the chance right away. Of course, I'm not going to block him or like say, no, I'm not going to add you back. Right away, I took the chance right then and there to say, my condolences. I'm so sorry to hear about your dad and everything. And that's horrible. His dad was an awesome dude. His dad was a very, very nice, polite, caring man who I think took really good care of his kid. And I think as far as life was concerned, his dad took care of quite a bit. He took care of everything from his finances to overall survival needs, like paying every kind of bill like you would have, like your AC, your electric, your gas, your internet, your cable, whatever, rent on top of that. And I know financially, like, he wasn't like this cutthroat businessman type of guy. He was quick to give away a lot of his stuff from his shop. He would give friends free stuff as gifts and stuff. Even if they didn't ask for it, he would just send stuff out to them. And, he would buy stuff for people too. So I knew financially, even though he wasn't the most savvy business guy, that he had his dad taking care of him. And I guess kind of socially and life wise supporting him. And so when I had heard that his dad had died, I really kind of worried about him because I knew he hadn't really had to deal with a struggle kind of on his own yet. And during this, I guess, new contact with him again, he had started asking me for a favor. He said, I need you to do me a favor. And I was like, yeah, of course, man. I know if you're in a rough spot because your dad just died, I can try and help you out as much as I can. And he asked me for if I had any old computers and an old video camera. Well, not video camera, like a digital camera. And the reason he's asking me this is because in the past I had given him a digital camera. I had an extra digital Sony Cybershot. I think it was like 4 or 5 megapixel or something like that. It was older. It was older, but I mean, you know what? Free camera. And this was a long time ago too. This wasn't like, you know, 2015. I'm giving you a 4 megapixel camera. Actually, no. I think it was actually way higher than that. I think it was like an 8 megapixel camera at that point. Yeah, by that time I think 8 was the standard. It wasn't. It was only like 2 or 3 years ago. What's the standard back then? 7, 8. Cybershot, whatever it would be back then. So I gave him that. I gave him the battery. And I guess because of that, he thought, you know, Scott's the guy you go to if you need like old tech that he's tossing out. And I said, you know, like I do have those two things. I have a laptop and I have a digital camera. But I was like, what do you need this stuff for? Because here's what I was a little bit confused about. When he had left because he had said, I'm leaving because I don't want to deal with the egos in the JVlog community, which is fine. I totally understand that. There's some egos I don't want to deal with in YouTube communities in general. And I don't like how they use new technology. So that's where I was confused. Like that, I mean, that's kind of new technology. He didn't have these, like, you know, like the laptop I was going to send him was a pretty up-to-date laptop, and the digital camera too. And I was like, well, what would you need those for? I mean, I know you already got a computer because we're typing to each other right now. And he was telling me, oh, my computer's like super old and it's shutting down all the time, and you know, it's crashing, and my digital camera is too old now, I can't use that, and I need this stuff so I can make some videos and stuff again. And I was just kind of like, well, oh, that's cool. I mean, you know, we can look into this, but like, what's your end plan right now? Like, what kind of job are you working? Like, what kind of like rent are you paying and stuff? Because I was, you know, financially, I'm worried about this guy. He's like, oh, well, I don't actually have a job right now. You know, I'm living on welfare and stuff. And so I'm kind of just like, huh, that's weird, dude. Like, so like, why welfare? Like, is it hard to get a job and stuff? And he's like, yeah, I can't like sell my oils and perfumes anymore. The shop that we owned shut down. You know, we owed a lot of money and stuff like that. And you know, my dad left me with a lot of debt and stuff. And I was like, damn, okay. So like, what about like other types of work and stuff? And he said, oh, well, like I had a friend in Tokyo who was gonna hook me up with some acting jobs, but like he wanted me to share an apartment with him out in Tokyo, which would be rather expensive. It would be, and we would both kind of work kombini jobs, and that's how we would be able to split rent and afford that, and on the side do like, you know, acting gigs. I'm like, oh, so did you, like, you know, you gonna take him up on that, or what are you gonna do with that? And he's like, no, dude. He's like, I'm not gonna work at a kombini, you know, like that's what killed my dad. Like he worked at a kombini the last few years of his life. And so I was kind of like, oh, okay, so like he's not gonna take like a more minimum wage type job. I mean, I know those jobs don't pay hot. Like they pay pretty low in Japan. I think like $10 an hour, which is, I mean, that's not a lot in Japan. That's hard to survive on. Japan's expensive. But I was kind of surprised, like, if he could have moved to Tokyo and get, like, acting gigs. Because I know there's a couple things he's always been really interested in. 1, acting. 2, singing. And 3, writing. And so he got into that. He's like, yeah, I really wanted to do acting out there, but now I'm not going to go out there because I don't want to work at a kombini and share the rent on that apartment. And I was really angry at that guy for even suggesting that. And I was just kind of like, well, that's kind of weird. I think the guy who suggested that was just trying to, like, you know, be reasonable with what you could do. And he was like, no, like I could probably get like a really big acting role and, you know, survive on that instead of having to make tiny amounts of money. And I was just like, well, what, like, do you have like any past experience acting or anything? And I guess he had some like a couple of small photo shoots when he was like a little kid for like clothing ads and stuff. I don't, I've never been a paid actor. I've never been in the acting scene. I've never tried to really get any gigs acting, aside from, I guess, I don't know if you want to count like college movies, like indie college films, which just take anybody and you work for free. But I don't really feel like that's any sort of professional acting. So I'm not really someone who can advise somebody, but I do think, and I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you go in steps to work your way up to big acting roles. For example, first you would start with commercials, then you would move on to maybe like short sitcoms or bit roles or extras, and then you would move on from there to maybe a starring role, and then from there you might move up to finally getting into a movie or something. But I think he had a vision of just like segueing straight into a movie, like being the main actor or star or something. Which I don't, like I said, I don't know a lot about acting, but I don't think it works that way. I don't think you can just, I mean, probably there's been some times in some people's lives where they just suddenly found themselves injected into the middle of a movie as the main star. But I don't know how often that happens, and I don't think it would be that often unless you have some kind of credentials or background or something. And so he said that wasn't going to work out. And so I was asking him, like, well, what else you got going on? He's like, well, I've got this book idea that I'm going to do, and it's going to revolutionize fantasy. It's going to revolutionize, like, even J.R.R. Tolkien fantasy. Like, no one's ever heard of this before. It's this story about a guy who he is living in a fantasy world, but guess what? It turns out, like, he's just crazy, and it's all in his head. And in my mind, I'm kind of just like, well, that's not really, like, revolutionizing. I mean, that's just Alice in Wonderland right there. I mean, right? I mean, that's a couple different books have used those storylines. I mean, in general, I mean, this is 2016. It's all been done. I'm sure there are still some original ideas out there, but they are minute and few and far between. A guy being crazy and imagining himself in a fantasy world. I can think of The Max. That was another one where the guy's crazy and just living in a fantasy world in his head. I don't know if you guys remember that series. I think I have Max episode 1, the book 1, I mean the comic book, because my son's name is Max, and I'm pretty sure that was the whole idea behind Max, was he was crazy. Spoiler alert for a comic that's like majorly old, like 15 or something years old at this point. So I was kind of like, okay, like, I mean, but do you have like any articles published or anything like that? Have you done any like magazine articles or like had small short stories published or like poems or anything, or like anything small published? Like, well, no, he's never had anything like that. He's never had anything published, like 0 published before. And I was like, I know who you should ask. Like my friend Mikey, who I mentioned earlier in this video. Again, Michael Gilliam Peckett, who I said kind of his big thing in Japan is that he's published, I think, 2 or 3 books at this point. And, he knows about publishing. I don't know. How else do I segue to that? The guy who published 3 books is probably the best guy you can ask about publishing. And he told me, he's like, yeah, I talked to him before. That guy's a jerk. And, like, I'm thinking, Mikey's a jerk? Like, nicest dude you'll ever meet. I mean, just so down-to-earth type of guy you just have a drink with and, be chums. Can talk about anything. Really super civil, polite. So I was like, what? Like, Mikey? You got in like a kind of a feud? And I thought, you know what? I'm remembering back to the Unrest team days where you got in a fight with one of our members. And I kind of felt like that situation too, where maybe it was just a misunderstanding or something. But I do know the other guy he got in a fight with is like just a good guy. Doesn't, really get into fights with anybody else. Not the kind of guy who's big for tension or confrontation. To be quite honest, he's really mellow. And so I was thinking, well, if he can get in a fight with that guy, maybe he could, rile up Mikey too. Or maybe he got riled up by Mikey. Maybe he's like really sensitive. So he said that Mikey was telling him that, you need to like I was just saying right now, like you need to get small articles published. You need to get like small things published first, or you need to self-publish. And, you can even do ebooks on Amazon for the Kindle and self-publish for like super cheap. And apparently, like, that really pissed him off, that he was like, no, my idea is going to be like a big time publisher, and they're going to definitely want to buy this idea ASAP because, dude, it rocks. It's going to revolutionize fantasy world. But no one will listen to me, he was telling me. And I was just like, okay, well, I mean, you know, if you can't, what else you got on the. And then he said, well, my final idea was I want to become a singer for like movies, for music, or I should say soundtracks for movies that are in Hollywood. And I'm just like, well, what do you like? How do you have a connection to that? And he's like, oh, I got some friends who live in Germany and they compose music and they've been in movies, Hollywood movies. And I'm like, oh, so it's like original soundtrack level music that they're composing and stuff, and they want you to help them compose. I'm like, I didn't know you. Did you play any instruments? And he's like, no, I sing. I can sing like really good. And I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard him sing, so he might be like a great singer. I don't know. His level of singing might be like, you know, opera level singing. But again, I think when you reach the level of making original soundtracks for movies, you've got before that a rapport with some sort of talent agency that knows you've got the skills and I guess the portfolio to be asked to do a Hollywood level movie soundtrack. Like, it's not like, you know, I've got a lot of stupid indie music that I've put out there that I've published well, not published, I guess, recorded. That's what I'm trying to say. Record it myself. But if I brought that to, if I brought that to a talent agency and told them I wanted to make Hollywood movie soundtracks, they would, I don't know which they would do faster, laugh their head off or show me the door. And that was, again, I was kind of like, well, like, do you have any past credits for like published music or like music that you've recorded for stuff? And he was like, no, I don't have anything. I've never done anything that I've gotten recorded. And I don't have any kind of like credits towards anything. I don't have any original soundtracks or anything like that. I don't have any albums pressed or anything like that. So he'd never been in a band or anything before, or never like and I know like he had recorded some stuff on his computer before he had sent it to me, but it was just like him turning on like his cell phone and recording it to his cell phone. It was just like super, it was really bad. It was like recording into a potato. It was like staticky and like just you wouldn't even use it for just normal talking like this, like you and me on a microphone talking on. Like it couldn't even be used for like a video or something. It was just really, really poor quality sound. And I'm not saying like poor quality like his voice sucked or anything. It might have been great, but the recording quality was so bad that I couldn't even really listen to it. It was just like all these pops and cracks and everything. And again, I guess maybe that's his thing where he's like obsessed with old technology, which that's cool if that's your thing. But I think there's like kind of a retro style you use that for. Like, you don't use it to actually like degrade the quality of your singing or recording or whatever. But if I could be wrong, maybe there is a whole style of music. You know, there's definitely a lot of styles out there I don't know about. So I was just kind of like, well, but like, what do you have in mind as a goal to like get the money to like, you know, get yourself started and get off of like welfare and stuff like that? Because he was telling me he was on welfare right now, that he was just getting money from the Japanese government. Because he actually does have he has citizenship because he's born to a Japanese native. So even though he's half, he can still get all the benefits of being a Japanese citizen. And he didn't really have any plan. I was like, okay, so I mean, if I give you this computer and stuff and I give you this digital camera, like, how is that going to be used to find a job? Because, you know, I'd like to help you out, like, and I'd like to send you stuff, but I'd like to hear also like an end plan of how this is being used to, you know, I guess kind of save yourself, to survive, to apply to jobs and stuff like that. And he was like, well, no, like what I need it for is like I need to stay in contact with my friends in Germany so I can eventually fly out there. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, it's cool to stay in contact, but like, how are you getting the money to fly out there? And he's like, oh, I don't know yet. Like, you know, I'm looking for some people to invest in my perfumes and oils and stuff. And I've got like these really old antiques from our shop that closed down, and they're worth like millions. Like, they're like Japanese antiques and Buddhist antiques that are worth millions. So if you know anybody who wants to buy like $1 million antiques, let me know. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, who's it worth millions to? Because I mean, I'm sure I could take a look at all that stuff and not want to pay $1 million for any of it. And I don't know, like the whole supply and demand thing goes through my head too. Like if there are Japanese antiques and Buddhist antiques, well, you're already in a country where like those aren't really in short supply. If people really want to go and find great antiques, they'll go to people who've been dealers that are well known for, years of dealing in that kind of stuff. Whereas you're not even having a shop open anymore. So unless you have some sort of connection or gig that sells those sort of things, then your credentials behind those antiques are non-existent, and so then your sales will be non-existent. And I think don't some of those antiques, like, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm totally talking out in a league that I don't know much about. Don't antiques like come with certificates or something, or some kind of like authenticity, or like approved by something, or like, and I don't know if that's what he has or something, but if he does, I mean, doesn't he know who you take those things to and get them sold by? I mean, and then again, when I hear people say I have antiques that are worth millions of dollars, I always think like, to who? To who are they worth $1 million to? Like, that's kind of a subjective idea, right? Like, I can say my drawings that I do are worth $1 million, but if someone doesn't want to pay that, they're not. So I don't know. I always feel like telling people antiques are worth millions is kind of a subjective thing. So he was telling me stuff like that was his ideas to get money, but I was like, well, what's your like job plan? Like, tell me like what you have an idea to like get a job. Like, are you going to try and like teach English, for example? He speaks fluent English. He can't speak any Japanese because he was raised by one English speaking parent and one Japanese speaking parent, and I guess mostly stuck to the English for the most part. And you can teach English in Japan. And he's flat out refused to do that, like, over and over again. And I know a lot of friends have suggested that to him. He's like, I don't have a degree to teach English. And it's like, well, none of us really have a degree to teach English. I mean, even me, I have a degree, but it's definitely not to teach English. It's an art degree. And then he said, like, it's not his thing, or that his English isn't good enough, which, I mean, if you speak English fluently, your English is good enough to teach English in Japan. In Japan, like maybe in a country like, Spain, or where English is already a pretty common fluent language. But I mean, Japan's English is below the level of Cambodia's English. Like, if you measured it on a chart, they're like the lowest literacy rate ever. You're literally teaching people things like, hello, my name is blah blah blah. So like I said, if you're fluent, you can teach English. You're good. You're good to go. And if you already have Japanese citizenship, then you don't need to do anything to get a visa. Like, you don't need to try and stay in the country and show your credentials to keep a job in a working visa. But he's refused to do that, so that's out of the question too. And then he was like, well, why can't you just like ship me the computer? And in my mind, I'm thinking like, dude, this guy's gonna need a job like soon. Like, welfare doesn't last forever in Japan. They'll pay it for a certain amount of time, and then they're gonna cut you off. So I was like, well, look, dude, here's what I have in mind. Here's what I have in mind. You get a job, bro, and I will send that computer and that camera to the job that you get, and you can pick it up there. And he was like, okay, I'll think about that. I'll look into that. And so I waited a little back for some feedback on like what he had gotten. I'm like, yo, how's the job thing going, man? And he was like, yeah, I got like this one German guy in like Deutsche Mura, and that means like Germantown. And that's down by his area. He's near the Kyushu area. And there's like we have a couple of these little towns where like there's like segregated communities, such as like Spain Muda and stuff like that, or Brazil Muda and stuff like that, where like they're little towns of groups of people that are from another country. They're very, very tiny. And he said he had found a guy from there who wanted to invest in his oils and stuff. He's like, yeah, he wants to invest in my oils because, some of my perfumes and oils, they can like cure Alzheimer's disease and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, what? Like, what are you like, I don't know much about holistic healing, but as far as I know, there's nothing out there holistically that can cure Alzheimer's disease. If there was, I imagine it would be selling off the shelves. I imagine that person would be insanely rich. And I would imagine people would start to take holistic medicine a lot more serious if they saw it curing Alzheimer's disease. I'm sure there's some aspects of holistic healing that can like help or benefit people who have Alzheimer's, but outright cure it, I mean, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but that doesn't exist, right? There's no cure for Alzheimer's, right? As far as I know. So I was just kind of like, well, invest, like, but that's kind of like your side project. I know you've got your oils and stuff that you worked on in the past, but like, what is like your job situation? Because I said I would send this computer to your job, this digital camera to your job, and this was kind of like as like, I don't want to say bait, but like motivation to like get a job. Like you get a job and then I send you this stuff. It's kind of like your reward for getting the job so that I can know for sure you're going to be okay to survive. Um, some may see this as like kind of like lure and tackle or bait, but like I felt like it was for his benefit. And he was like, oh, no, I got this figured out. So here's what I got. My friend just got a job working for a real estate company, so you can send it to his job. My heart kind of sank at that point. I was kind of like, damn, dude, like, how do I explain this to him? Like, I want him to get the job. Like, am I not being clear enough with this? And I was like, no, look, like, I was trying to send it to your job. And because, then you would have the job and you'd be secured in employment and stuff like that. Not like send it to another person's job. Because like, first of all, that's going to cost me money. And if I'm going to invest, if I'm going to spend money on this being sent to you, then, I at least want it to be like some kind of reward or some kind of like motivation or something like that. Cause you gotta pay quite a bit for a laptop and a digital camera to be sent. You probably want to get insurance on something like that because it is very easy for those to be broken in the mail. And I was cool to pay that, but he was like, no, look, I already thought about it and like, I'll pay for it. Like, and then I was like, all right, well, I mean, if you really want to pay for it to be sent, like, can you like, at the very least, like wire me the money for me to send it so that I'm not paying out of pocket. I will send it free if you go get a job and I will pay out of pocket for it to be sent. But if you're, I guess refusing, I didn't say outright refusing, but I'm saying like, if you're not going to get a job, I'm going to make you pay for it to get it. I'm going to make you pay for shipping. I mean, just that's it. I'm not going to charge them for like my old computer and my old camera. If I don't use it, that's, So I'm the kind of person that if I'm not using old technology, I give it away. And so I was like, but look, I'm not going to pay for that stuff to be shipped. All right. Like, so he's like, no, it's cool. I'll pay for it. I'll send you the money. And it was somewhere around like Ichiman. I think it was a little bit over Ichiman actually, which is like a little over $100. Yeah. Expensive in Japan. That's how much it's expensive to send stuff if you put insurance on it and everything. And I was like, all right, like, let me think about it and stuff, dude. But I'd prefer, like, if you're gonna do that, like, let's talk about, like, my bank account number. I'll give it to you, so you wire it to me. And that's how it works in Japan. You give people your bank account numbers. They can't take money out of it. They can only put money into it. The only way you can take money out is if you come with your ATM card and everything. And so that's how you do it. And, like, he was like, no, I can't. I don't have a bank account. Like, I don't have any kind of bank account. Like, I'll have to mail you the money. And that's where, like, I was like, all right, what? Like, mail me money? And I'm thinking, yeah, you can do that if you want, but, you're not supposed to mail money. Like, I don't think you can mail money. In America, we're not allowed. I don't know about whatever country you guys are from, but in America, we don't mail money. I don't know if it's illegal to mail money in the mail, but you just don't do it because people could steal the money out of the mail. It's so easy. So we don't ever send cash. And there's no such thing as checks in Japan. You can't send a check. There's no money orders. I think you can probably do Western Union, but it's damn hard to find a Western Union in Japan. And he didn't have any like credit cards or debit cards because he didn't have a bank account. So I was like, yeah, I'll think about it, man. I'll think about it. And he was like, well, in the meantime, I'll send you like some perfumes and oils and stuff because I know your kids just had the flu. And they did. They had just had the flu around there. I just talked about this in my past videos that they just had the flu. And I was like, yeah, I was like, you don't have to send that stuff. Like, I know you're like hurting already for money. So, and he's like, no, I got a ton of that stuff, man. I'll send some. So he sent that and I got it. And I figured, I was like, maybe he's going to try and send cash in this or something. Like, and make this like a certified mail thing so that in Japan, I know like it's illegal if you just take like an envelope, you put money inside and you just send it. Like you can't do that. It's actually illegal in Japan. Like, I don't know how exactly it works, but the government gets involved and they'll actually take that out of there, out of circulation. And I know you're probably wondering like, well, wait, like how would they know? Like a lot of mail in Japan actually goes through like metal detectors and stuff. And I don't know, whatever you use to like x-ray stuff and look inside. That's how they're so freaking hardcore on cracking down on drugs and guns in Japan. You don't hear about a lot of drug and gun deaths because they crack down really hard on that stuff, especially if they see it's gaijin mail too. Like, and you're like, how do they know it's gaijin mail? Well, right away the big thing is the person hasn't written kanji on there for the address. They've written English or romaji. So I figured he probably sent it in that, and like I checked this like thing with these little glass vials that he sent that had these oils and perfumes, and there's nothing in there. Like, it's just those glass vials. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Probably he's gonna send it certified mail, like, or whatever. And I never get a response from him, and I'm just like, man, you know what, dude? Like, screw this. Like, I'm just like, I'm done with this, man. Like, I've asked the guy to get a job. I've told the guy I'll send it to you for free if you get a job. I told the guy to wire me the money to my account and do it that way so that we have a proper bank transfer. And the last thing I got from him was these like glass perfume or oil bottles. It wasn't in there, even though that package probably would have been best because, they have more care in those packages. They certify those packages. They make sure they're not bumped, ripped open. And you can send more than just oils and perfumes in them if it's an outright package and not an envelope. Again, you can't send cash in an envelope. And so I'm talking to my friends back on the Unrest team, and I'm telling them this situation, like how much I'm like, dude, you need to get a job, and you need to like finally get some money for yourself and have some sort of bank account, because I mean, like, you're 22 years old, man. Like, you got to stand on your own 2 feet, and you got to like finally. What happened? Huh? What's wrong, buddy? Okay. Here. Oh, wow. Come here, show the camera.
Daddy.
I'll get it. Oh no, he was playing with his train and it stuck to his hair. Well, turn it off. There you go. Ooh. You okay, buddy? Are you alright? It's okay. Come give me a hug. I know, sweetie Petey. Okay, don't put it in your hair anymore, okay? Okay. Kids are hilarious, dude.
What?
Okay, you can play with that. Go ahead. Take my. It's cool. You can take it, bud. Okay. I gotta finish recording. Go back to your playroom. Oh, kids, man. So anyway, where was I with this story now? I'm losing my train of thought with kids running trains through their hair. So he's something that we're discussing in my Unrest team group, and they all know him and they know his situation. And I told them like he had recently contacted me again and was asking me to send this stuff, and I'm like, what do you guys think? And they're like, Scott, look, man, you just got to cut this dude off. Like, we've tried to work with him in the past, and like he's angry at all of us because he wanted us to like sell his oils and perfumes in our country, and like then he would like try to send it and be like, now you need to pay me for all the stuff I just sent you, and like we didn't even ask him to send the stuff. And like they were telling me other stories, like there was another guy who was a J vlogger, and he had a bunch of stuff that he used to sell in his shop, and this guy had sent him the oils too. The same friend had sent him the oils and perfumes too. And when he was closing the shop down, he was like, hey, you should send me all the stuff from your shop because I really like the stuff that you had in your shop. And remember when I used to send you free oils and stuff? So you should send me free stuff from your shop when you're closing it down. And they kind of had a falling out too because of that. Because he was like, no, dude, I'm not just going to send you stuff from my shop for free. And then, like, I've heard other stories too. And so now, after talking to them, I was just like, yeah, you know what? You guys are right. And I made a post on Facebook too. You guys probably saw it, where I was just like, what do you do? Like, and I didn't mention the friend's name. And I just said, like, when you're put in this kind of situation, people are like, look, dude, you just got to, like, cut that kind of friend shit off. Like, and you heard I said they're not friendship. Like, you got to cut that kind of stuff off. There's a point where it, like, evolves into something that you shouldn't participate in if you feel like it's either using you or trying to be a fair weather friend. And that's what a lot of people said to me. They're like, that sounds like a really fair weather friend. Like, he left that community. That's cool. That's fine. If you want to do that, that's cool. But the only time he finally contacts you again is when he needs like a laptop and he needs a camera and stuff. They're like, Scott, dude, that's just a dude using you. And I was like, All right, you guys are right. You guys are right. Cool, cool, cool. And no hard feelings or anything. Like I was just like, I'm gonna block him on this stuff because at this point he was like starting to call me like every day. Like, yo, did you send that laptop yet? And like I didn't want to keep pressing it home. Like, dude, you get a job yet? Like, and it wasn't because like I didn't want to see him get a job, but it was number one. I mean, that's kind of uncomfortable where you're like yelling at somebody to get a job when they're like not your kid. They're not your responsibility. They're a grown ass man. Um, and number two, like I just felt like it wasn't my place to like be a authority in his life. And so I thought instead of deal with this kind of uncomfortable situation, I'm just gonna block him. He had me blocked and deleted from Facebook before. What's the difference to going back to that? I said I'm sorry that his dad died. I gave him my condolences. We ended on that note. Good enough. I don't want this to evolve into some sort of fight of me yelling at him. You need to get a job. Okay, that's not my place. That's not my place. He'll know. He'll know. And so I blocked him. I deleted him, and then he started messaging all my friends, and he's like, "Yo, dude, I'm trying to send Scott this money, and like he still won't send me this laptop." And then after a while, the story changed to like, "I sent Scott this money, and he still hasn't sent me a laptop." And like the only person who really responded was my friend Mikey, who I talked about earlier in this video. And he was like, "Well, what did you do? Like, how much did you wire him and stuff?" He's like, No, I didn't wire him any money. Like, I mailed him $100 in the mail and stuff." And like even Mikey knows the laws really well, and he's like, "Yo, dude, like you can't mail money in Japan. Like, it's illegal. It actually is illegal." And then the guy was like, "Oh, but I did mail it." And Mikey was like, "Well, like was it certified or like do you have proof or anything like that?" And apparently he told Mikey, because Mikey called me like right after this. We just had this discussion. He called me. I was like, "Yo, he sent it certified or something." He's like, but I'm like, if that's true, man, like just show me the signature. I don't remember signing for anything like this. And like it's not like I get a ton of packages every day and I'm like signing. I have not signed for any mail like that. Like I haven't signed for any mail that delivered $100. Um, and I'm just like, and he's like, "Yeah," and he said like you blocked and deleted him. I'm like, "Yeah, I did because I like didn't want to hear about this laptop anymore. I didn't want to like bug him about getting a job anymore." And like he's like, "Yo," like he's trying to like tell me that like he tried to send you $100 and that you haven't responded to him. And like I'm like, "Well, like does he say that he got confirmation it got back?" Because I was thinking like maybe this happened. Maybe he did send it and like he got like a signed thing back that it was delivered, and then like it was delivered to the wrong person or someone else signed off on it. But here's the weird thing is though. Okay, this is where I kind of doubt that. In Japan, when you sign off for mail, you can use either your signature or a hanko. And personally, I always do my signature because, well, you can copy a hanko. You can't copy a signature. If you took somebody's hanko and you stuck it in a mold, you would have a copy of that hanko and could do the same exact hanko. Where you can't, cut my hand off and write my signature. And I went back. I checked them. I checked with the mail. I was like, "Yo, did I sign for anything like recently? Like, can you show me the last couple of things that you delivered here that I signed for?" Nothing showed up. Like I went and checked, and I was like, "They're like, nah, dude, we haven't like delivered a signed package for you in like ages." And so I'm like, "All right, so I'm not signed for anything," because I thought like, okay, either number one, I signed for it and I'm such an idiot that I forgot because I can be featherbrained. I can do that. Number two, my wife signed for it when I wasn't here. That's fine. And maybe she just forgot to tell me. That can happen. That can easily happen. I remember one time I signed for one of her credit cards. I stuck it in her pile of mail and I never told her. And then she found it like way later and was pissed off. My fault. Okay, so she can make the same mistake. She's done it before. I've done it before. But no, she hasn't signed anything more. I haven't signed anything recently. And then her and I started asking each other, like, "Did you remember like signing off for anything or signing on?" No, no, no. And then we even asked our kids, we're like, "Did you ever like answer the door?" Like, we never leave them home alone because they're too young for that. But I don't know, maybe something crazy like we're in the shower and they open the door and like said no. And I don't, but would a postman let a little kid sign for people's mail? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you have to be like an adult, right? I don't even know how the law works. But I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Okay, so now I guess he is swearing that he sent $100 my way, and then that was supposed to pay for me to ship him a laptop and a digital camera, which I've never even like checked if that's the total amount for it, like to send it. I'm finding, as I checked, that it was that amount with insurance, but that was just the laptop. If I included the camera too, it was going to be even more. And then you have to do like special types of insurance for like if it has an LCD screen and stuff like that. And I was like, what the hell am I doing all this research and checking all this stuff out for to ship it? I was just like, I'm just gonna not do this, man. If he's not gonna get a job, if he can't take the effort of just getting a job, why should I take the effort of trying to learn how to send this stuff? So I just stopped, and so I guess without even getting a full confirmation of how much everything was and like what was going to be sent and how it was going to be packaged and like where I'd be sending it to and like what like it just turned out like that apparently he just like sent $100 my way via envelope. And you know what? And this is just a theory. I don't have any proof about this. I have a feeling maybe he did actually send the money. Like maybe he put it in an envelope and sent it. I have a feeling it wasn't certified. Um, in which case, like, it's just gone. It's gone. Like, if you ever send cash in the mail in America and just put it, like, in a regular envelope, your cash is gone, dude. I don't know how it is in your own personal country or whatever, but if you put cash in the mail and just send it, like, dude, it's gone. Like, how hard is it to rip open a piece of paper and take the money, pocket it, and that's the end of it? Um, maybe if there's some way he could track it and see what happened to it, that would be really good. Um, then we could see how it got delivered. But that's the thing. I haven't heard any feedback on that. And honestly, when I talked to my friend Mikey, he said, Scott, man, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's what I feel happened. He's like, I think he's in a bad spot mentally. Like, I think he's not all there mentally right now because he's dealing with a lot. His dad just died. Uh, his financial situation's super rough. He doesn't have any kind of job leads or anything, and he doesn't know where his future lies. And he doesn't really know where he's going in his life. He's kind of like lost. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, I guess. And he's like, the problem is too is like he's calling everyone and like asking them for things and like not just calling them once or twice a day, but like at the end when I finally blocked him, he was calling me like 10, 20 times a day. And dude, like I don't answer like one phone call a day, let alone 10 or 20. I just don't have time. I don't have time, man. And that was half of the reason that I blocked him was I was just like, I can't keep having my phone blow up like this. And he's like, now he's hitting me up with all those, and it just doesn't sound like he's all there. Like, it's not making any sense. Like, he's saying the letter was certified, and then he's saying the letter wasn't certified, and then he's saying he sent Ichiman, and he's saying he sent it, via just like cash in envelope sent. But then he's saying that envelope was certified, and then he's saying it's not certified, and then he's saying that it didn't get lost in the mail and that he's sure of it. But when I ask him for like how he's sure, what proof he has, he doesn't have anything he can develop or show me, or like you could take a picture of like a certified confirmation that something was sent. He's like, you can't send me anything like that. And he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm thinking like we're both dealing with a guy who's like on the edge. He's like about to break. I sound like a Linkin Park song there, Jesus. And he's like, and I just thought I'd give you a heads up because, like, I just don't know what's going down with him. We kind of discussed this too. We were kind of like, well, what's the best we can do for this guy? Like, what's the best thing we can do? And we're kind of this is kind of where we're at now. I know he said that, like, he's like, I think this guy that is our mutual friend wants to make a video, like, that he's angry about the whole J-vlogging world again, and that he feels like he should be sent this computer. And he said he's even like told me that I should warn you that he's gonna make a video about that, and that's cool. He can do that if he wants. Like no like I know he's in a bad way right now, and I know he's in a bad mental state, and like I know he was really angry at our community before because we have big egos and use too much technology, as he said, which I mean maybe in his mind those are like really valid things to be pissed off about. Cool, man, I understand. And he did block and delete us before because he didn't want to be part of our community. And then when he came back, it was only to ask for that. and I kind of really didn't receive him very well. I was just like, yo, dude, you need to get a job if I'm going to send you stuff like that. And I can see now that he's pissed because of that, and that he's probably going to rant and rave. And he's like, I just thought I should call you and tell you that that might happen because, look, you know I'm a good dude, and you know, and I know you're a good dude, and like he's like, and I know there used to be a time where our mutual friend was like a good guy, but I just don't think he's like playing with a full deck of cards anymore. And he's like, I'm probably gonna make a video response too. And I even called him before I made this video, and that's why I'm mentioning his full name, because he said, please mention my full name. And he's like, you know, you should make a video too. And I actually, even Victor too, give me a break, give me a flake man, and said, yeah, it's something you should make a video out and just kind of address it. And I think that's where we're at now, guys. I'm dealing with a friend who I feel like is now an ex-friend who I've had to block just because he was kind of driving me nuts near the end, and I kind of was feeling like a fair weather friend, like a friend you only contact again when you need something. On top of that, you know, I've given out free technology in the past, but I just felt like a computer and a digital camera was a little bit too much. Then on top of it, I'm being told that he says he's telling other people that he's sent like $100 in the mail, and that I'm refusing to respond to his emails because of that. Maybe I've taken the money and kept it for myself because I desperately need $100 and $100 only, I guess, and I'm gonna run off to the bank with it. I don't quite know. I mean, financially, I'm doing pretty well, so I just don't know. I'm trying to think of like the motivation of like why I would just take this $100 and run off in secret with it. Financially, I'm doing pretty well, so I don't really need the $100. Hence, I said I would send it for free if he got a job. But at the same time, I was just kind of getting sick of like the constant like nagging to send it, the nagging to send it when he wouldn't respond to my own request to go get a job. And I think that's where we're at here. Like, am I being irrational by asking that? Like, if somebody's in a hard place, their last living relative that they lived with is dead, and they're struggling to pay rent, they're struggling to pay for even basic needs like food and gas and electricity. Well, I guess no, in Japan they're not going to turn off your gas. Actually, they won't. Even if you don't pay your gas, they won't turn it off because they won't let you freeze to death. But am I being irrational by not helping them out? Like, am I being the asshole? And if I am, that's okay. Like, tell me to my face. That's fine. But I just feel like, where else is there to go other than to tell this guy to get a job so he can do more than just use this computer for like YouTube or Skype or talking to friends in Germany, which it's cool if he has all those pastimes and past hobbies like writing his books and doing his acting and making his songs and stuff. But until I see some sort of fruition of a solid plan that gains him full-time employment that will make him survive, I just don't see the fair weather friend aspect of sending him a computer now until I guess he would need my next old computer as helpful. I just don't see that as helpful. I feel like if I was going to give that computer away, I would give it away to someone who already had a job and was struggling, and they're like, look, I need a computer because I want to write a resume and send it off to a bunch of people. Like, that wasn't even the conversation. His idea was just that he wanted to talk to his friends in Germany, and I was just kind of like, that's not even like an end plan for this computer. Like, the stuff I give away for free, I like to give it away for free. I like to see people use it. And in the past, I gave away that camera for free because he used it to make YouTube videos, and that's cool, and I like that. I'm not saying people have to do what I want with it, but I feel like in this situation, I want him to do it because I want to see this up the level of his life, to make it a prosperous life, a life that's, going to allow him to survive with food and electricity and gas. And it's just like, I know by cutting him off and not talking to him anymore, it'll make him reconsider, like, the offer I made earlier, that if you just get a job and tell me what that job is, I'll send the computer. making up lies about sending Ichiman, or even if you did send the Ichiman, making up lies that it was certified and didn't get lost in the mail, which I'm almost 100% sure at this point that it did, it's not helping anybody. It's not helping yourself. It's not helping our friend Mikey. It's not helping me. It's not helping you get a computer. What would help you get a computer is if you got a job. And then I could send it to that job as like a reward for finally, ganbate. Otherwise, I mean, this modern world is going to eat you alive. Especially Japan, it's going to eat you alive, dude. Is this sounding too harsh? Am I being too harsh here? Guys, honestly, tell me. Like, should I just, like, take his word for it that he sent the money and send him that computer just so he has, like, something to do with his free time, which he has a ton of, by the way. That's how he's able to call me 10 to 20 times a day. And he can talk to his friends in Germany. Like, maybe that's the only thing cheering him up right now. Like, should I just wait a little bit longer and see if the money shows up and then send it? Should I? I mean, I can't do anything more with the post office. I checked there. Or should I reopen communication to this person? Like, I've kind of blocked him because, like, I was sick of, like, the messages, the emails, the phone calls. And then it got to a point where when I went answered, he started to bug my wife, and my wife started to bug me. She's like, dude, this guy won't stop bothering me, and I barely know him, so I had to block him on that. And then now he went to my friend Mikey, and Mikey's having to call me and say, like, dude, our friend's having a mental breakdown. Like, what the hell is going on with this guy? And now it comes to the point where I have to make a video asking, have you ever had a friend like this? Have you ever had this kind of thing happen to you? How did you handle it? What did you do? And should I continue to handle it this way where I just keep him blocked on everything and just kind of, I guess, completely end the friendship and the communication? I don't see a reason why I would keep a person like this around anymore. And that's a sad thing, man. That makes me sad, dude. I don't make or give up friends very easily. It takes time. It takes time. And I trust things like loyalty, friendship, truthfulness. Those are the things I look for in a friend. And right now, those are things I'm questioning in a friend. What do you guys think? I don't know. This video's gone on way too damn long. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Thanks so much for listening. This has been a hell of a ramble on Unrestology. And I guess for those of you who like long videos, thanks for watching all the way. If you did watch all the way to the end, write, "What do I do, Scott?" at the bottom. And then I'll know you watched to the end, which is amazing. Until next time, guys, Unrested signing off. This was Unrestology. A modern man's common thoughts in the land of Japan, the red dot inside of the big white rectangle. Have a good one.